Hello and welcome to another episode of the Menswear Style Podcast. I'm your host, Pete Brooker. Today I am talking to Gordon Bruce, the distillery manager at anCnoc Distillery, producers of the award-winning anCnoc Whisky. And the anCnoc Whisky is a highly respected whisky amongst enthusiasts and a welcoming dram for newcomers. They are known for producing a light, intriguing and thoroughly modern whisky using traditional hands-on methods. The signature whiskies, anCnoc 12-year-old and Peat Heart, allow people to discover the lighter and darker notes of whisky within the one brand. And it's a real fun chat that I have with Gordon. He's sent on some samples to me, which was very nice of him and the team. Got to try the 12-year-old, the 18-year-old and the 24-year-old and the Peat Heart. And we're going to go through some of those notes, the process, and, get talking about whiskey in general. So here it is. And here is Gordon Bruce to introduce himself and to us to the anCnoc Distillery and the anCnoc Whisky.
Oh, wow. Well, my name's Gordon Bruce, manager at anCnoc Distillery. I've been here for 16 years. 12 years prior to that, worked in Ball-Blair Distillery, and 6.5 years before that, worked in Pulteney Distillery. So often get asked, have you worked on whisky all your life? And the answer is no, not yet. anCnoc is a very traditional, very hands-on distillery. We're situated about an hour north of Aberdeen, northeast Highlands of Scotland. Fairly remote rural location. So we got 13 houses, population of 28 in the village, and the distillery. We run the distillery 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it'll run for 48 weeks this year. So it works for its keep. And
so anCnoc is a distillery, but there isn't a anCnoc distillery. Is that right? I've got that right.
No, that's right. anCnoc, as you probably know, is Gaelic for Black Hill. So the hill where the distillery draws its water supplies from, in certain times of year, the hill appears black. It's just the heather that covers the side of the hill. There's another distillery called anCnoc, so the names are very, very similar. So to avoid confusion between the two distilleries, we changed the name of our distillator, our bottled product, to anCnoc, which is Gaelic for the hill. So we kept the connection with the hill, but we've clearly differentiated between distilleries.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up. And you have a podcast yourself, I read here, the anCnoc Tales. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure I agreed to do that one. I must have been really young at the time. It's actually been really good fun. I'm the most technophobic person I know. I really do not do technology at all. I suppose early days of COVID, we couldn't have guests at the distillery. We can go to shows, festivals and fairs and meet and greet people. I mean, we get such a buzz from that. It's the biggest buzz you can get. If you see somebody sitting or standing with a glass in hand of something that you've made, well, it's good fun if they get a smile on their face. It's not so good if they're grimacing. So we needed to find a different way to connect to customers. So somebody came up with the idea of a podcast. We'll drag the chuchter from the distillery out and we'll stick him in front of the microphone every couple of months. It's been good. We met some really nice people through it. There's been some interesting conversations. Great.
Well, we can find that. I'm going to go there after this and check it out on the website, by the way, anCnoc.com, and you can spell that ANCNOC and have a listen to some Knocktails. And very keen to hear about the conversations and the process. So
best listen to after a couple of drams, I think.
Yeah. I hope it's an interactive one where you're encouraged to take part. Well, talking about taking part, so I mentioned that you were kind enough to send some samples on. In front of me, I've got the 12, the 18, and the 24, and the Peat Heart. Is this the entire portfolio for anCnoc?
No, every now and again we'll have an annual vintage release, and that's liquid from a specific calendar year. So we've actually got a 2009 vintage on the go just now. It's similar age, similar cast types to the 12-year-old, but just a little bit different. It's slightly stronger, non-chill filter, natural colour. Right. It's a slightly different nose. It's just a little bit different. We don't do a vintage every year, just when we've got liquid we think is appropriate for the vintage year.
Are the vintages quite sought after?
I absolutely adore them because they're all so different. If you can find a 1995, a 1999 or a 2002, I would suggest you grab them. Right. Particularly in 1999, it was like, I don't know, walking into a bowl of fruit. It was such a lovely, fruity, estery fragrance, but a really, really nice dram.
Gordon, you got me going. I've got to crack one of these open.
You started a drill yet?
I am. I'm salivating to the glass. So I'm just now. The 12-year-old is more of a pale liquid. You describe that.
So 12's a good place to start. Yeah.
Have a quick go on the nose here. Are you joining in, Gordon? I hope I'm not drinking alone.
Well, it'd be rude not to.
So I'm getting immediately some honey. I don't know if that's the first thing I should be walking into, but
we all nose and taste things slightly differently, so there's never any right or wrong here. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm big in the honey and the citrus and the fruit notes there as well.
Which is good, by the way, whenever you go to a whiskey event, when they say, "Oh, you're never really wrong," so that you don't actually look stupid when you go, I think I smell some figs. They're like, what? It's like, oh, each to their own. Let me try a little.
So I always think that the 12-year-old's a very, very approachable whiskey. It's such an easy whiskey to drink, and it appeals to so many different people, newcomers to whiskey and experienced whiskey drinkers alike.
Yeah, very fruity, this one. It's actually really smooth. Would you mix this with any? Would you recommend mixing any of them with like a chaser or anything like that?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. Once again, that's a personal choice. A whiskey cocktail in my part of the world is whiskey and 3 drops of water. But personal choice again. The 12-year-old's bottled at 40% alcohol by volume. It's chill filtered. It's got a low strength. Personally, I wouldn't put anything near that.
It's quite malty as well. I think people would appreciate that it's quite an approachable whiskey. I mean, I've only just had a little sip there, but it's becoming a bit moreish. I don't know if that's because of the honey that maybe it's coming in and, it's got quite a soft approach to it.
Drags you in, makes you want to take a second sip, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
My only complaint with the 12-year-old is too easy to drink. Right. If you got a bottle open at home, it tends to get in fairly quickly.
Okay. Yeah, no, that is nice. Bit of chocolate there. It's really smooth, dangerously smooth, I would say, Gordon. What kind of occasion would you take this whiskey to? Would it be maybe a dinner party or maybe a barbecue? Do you ever think about these things in terms of how you might gift this or present this in a situation?
It's a whiskey for every occasion. I think we both agree it's approachable. It's super easy to drink. From the 4 you have there tonight, if I went home from work on a Tuesday night, I thought, I just fancy a whiskey tonight. And I don't feel the need to sit down and sniff it and analyse the thing to death. Just pour it, drink it, and enjoy it.
No.
Well, 12-year-old's great.
All over that, but I'm going to just seal it up here. The little sample bottle, I'll have to finish that. I gave myself a very generous dose of this. I might have to take it a bit easier on the other ones. But come out, the traps flying with that one, Gordon.
Yep.
Now, moving on to the 18-year-old.
So the 18 is a wee bit different. This whiskey spent the first 16 years of its life maturing in ex-bourbon casks. And then we've taken the mature liquid, transferred it into first fill sherry cask for a further 2 years. So we're getting the best of both worlds. We're ideally looking at lots of toffee and vanilla notes from the bourbon casks, and that spiciness and a touch of dry fruit from the sherry cask. Slightly stronger, as you point out, it's a slightly 46% alcohol by volume. Natural colour. The colour, it's all come from the casks it's been matured in, and non-chill filtered. So if you kept that bottle of whiskey in a very cold area, a cold room, you've got the potential for haze to form in the bottle.
Right.
It's not a problem. It's a natural occurrence. It's long-chain fatty acid esters that come out of solution at a low temperature. When the liquid warms up, it'll turn clear again. There's no problem there.
I've heard that you can leave the whiskey, it doesn't have any effect once it's open for a knock. Is that true? So you can open a bottle of whiskey and maybe go back to it 8 months later and, that's not going to do anything else in the bottle?
We've got a house rule at home. We've got a Sharpie in the drinks cabinet. So when we open a bottle of whiskey, the date gets scribbled on it. And that bottle gets to live for no longer than 1 year. The fruitiness you're smelling from the glass from the 12-year-old, from the 18-year-olds, is mainly esters. Esters are bound to alcohol. And every time you open the cork of that bottle, you're losing a little bit of alcohol. Right. So you're also losing esters. You're letting air, oxygen into the bottle. So the liquid's going to start to oxidize very, very slowly as well. So it will change over time once it's been opened.
Does that in the bottle over time? Is that the angel share? Have I got that right?
Angel share is actually maturation loss. from the casks and maturing in the warehouse. Because wood's very, very slightly porous, we're allowed to lose 2% of the previous year's contents of that cask purely through evaporation. So brand new whisky is totally clear, totally colourless before it's poured into the cask to mature, to ripen. So the law says we're not allowed to call it Scotch whisky until that new make spirit has been in a wooden barrel maturing in Scotland for at least 3 years and 1 day.
Right, that's right.
So the age in the label of these whiskies tonight, the 12-year-old, the age of the youngest whisky in the 12-year-old is 12. But we've also got some slightly older whiskies, maybe some 13, 14, 15-year-old whiskies in there as well.
Right.
And that lets us have the consistency that we're looking for.
Right.
So you buy a bottle of 12-year-old this week, it should be the same as a bottle of 12-year-old you bought this time last year.
Let me have a go on this 18-year-old.
I would suggest a wee sniff and a wee sip, as it is without water. And for me, this will quite happily take water, a couple of drops, but hey, that's a personal thing again.
Again, there's quite a bit of lemon I'm getting. I'm just going to put a bit of water here. I think it's a bit more herbaceous. It's a bit more direct.
A lot more cask influence with this one as well.
Yeah, with a bit of water in. I'm out of the, like I was saying off mic, I'm out of the game a little bit, Gordon, because I took a long time off drinking whiskey, so I've not really got back in the saddles properly, I should say. But
you did say you were making up for lost time.
I am. I feel like I haven't got match fit. I'm still carrying around a bit of holiday weight when it comes to whiskey drinking. I need to get a bit more sharp before I get in the ring. Is there one that you're really proud of? I know we'll get onto the 24 and the peated, but is there one that you gravitate towards more than any other?
Oh, Jings, that's such a difficult question. It's a bit like being asked, do you have a favourite child or a favourite dog? And we all do, obviously.
We do.
Yeah. But you would never tell the other ones, would you? Because it's such a mood drink. It depends what you want to drink, is how your head's working, who you're with, how your day has gone. So Tuesday night whiskey for me, 12-year-old, no problem at all. Yeah. We've got friends coming around on a Friday night, want to have a bit of crack, 18-year-old's great. Saturday night, 24-year-old, switch the phone off, leave me alone, this is my time world. And 24-year-olds a dram, you just want to pour, sniff and sip, sniff and sip. Half the pleasure of that is in the nose. And if it's a nice Saturday night, you've got friends coming around, maybe fire pit or barbecue, peat whiskey, and a nice stinky blue cheese, great combination.
I've got to get the cheese out now. Crikey, this night's coming alive. But that was really nice.
So hopefully the DNA is there, the similarities are there between the 12-year-old and the 18-year-old. We don't want something that's so heavily influenced by the cask that's matured in that it could be anything. So we're looking for consistency of quality in our new make spirit. That's what we strive for the whole year round. We want to make a super consistent spirit. We're very, very fussy about the casks that we use. We know what we're going to get from the cask maturation-wise, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 20 years.
So what's your, I know it's more of a way of life than a 9 to 5, but if you had any kind of day where there was a similar structure to the next, what would be your typical day in the office?
There's probably no such thing as a typical day. That's the beauty of this job. I've been doing this for a long time, and every day is a school day. Our main raw material is malted barley. Barley is a living thing, so that's going to change all year round. So it depends on the barley variety, where you bought it from, what the sun gods are doing, the external temperatures are. So Distillery is just like a great big toy box. It's a plaything, and it's great fun to tweak it and just tease the process a wee bit and just try and get the best out of things. I shouldn't say it, I've touch wood and say this, because the place runs 24/7, I'm on call 24/7, so the telephone's always bedside at night. Touch wood again, place is pretty reliable these days. It's a very tidy, pretty well organised wee plant. But it's sometimes actually good to get a breakdown or something going wrong, and it just forces you to think a wee bit, just maybe try and find a different solution, or maybe to run the plant temporarily in a slightly different way. It just makes you think a wee bit, something a wee bit out of the ordinary.
Right, it keeps you on your toes.
It does, yeah.
Do you get to travel a lot?
We used to. We've done, Sweden is our biggest single market, so we've done a great deal of trips to Sweden, and Sweden's paid to feed and educate my children and dogs, so Scotland, right. Thank you very much, Sweden. I also own 2 Volvos to save money. That's
putting some money back into the market.
Yeah, Sweden's our number 1 market. It's been very, very good to us.
How come Sweden?
Possibly, potentially, something to do with the packaging. If you see pictures of the packaging on the website, it's very clean, stylish. The packaging almost looks Scandinavian. And the Swedish whiskey market is absolutely massive. You can only buy through the state-run stores. They've got a monopoly across there. And the system works really, really well. They've got a really good range of products. Prices they're okay, maybe slightly higher in the UK, but they're not out of this world.
Interesting.
The products are all very clearly explained on the shelves, or what you're going to get. They do it so well. I wish we organised things so well in this country would be a big difference.
Do they export?
Yeah, there's a couple of cracking wee distilleries. You got McNeera, High Coast, that used to be Box, and Ven, little wee island, straight between Sweden and Denmark. So they're very good distillers across there as well.
I was just wondering if they're like the Swiss and the Austrians with their wine. They make it and then they keep it.
But they also buy a lot from us. So that's
right. That's good news. That's good news. Moving on to the 24, putting half a dram into the glass here, giving it a swill. Noticing the color is a little lighter than the 18.
That batch of 18 that you've tried tonight is probably slightly darker than we were aiming for. And that's just down to the individuality of the casks that we've used. We've got far more sherry impact from that partial cask than we expected. 21 years in bourbon and a full 3 years in next sherry casks. And as I say, that's my Saturday night sniff and sip, sniff, sip. And half the pleasure of this dram is just in the nose. So you get a decent glass, you really appreciate it.
This is delicious. It has like a wintry vibe. Like even on the nose, it kind of reminds me of queuing for ice skating rinks and and doing things in the cold. I'm not sure if I'm selling this for you. Sorry, but
when there's a probably good concept there. This is one that I would enjoy in front of a fire. You've got the log burner going Saturday night.
It has a romantic feel to it.
Yeah, wet dog lying at your feet.
Yeah,
I'm sticking a wet spaniel.
Mm-hmm. I like the toffees coming through on this.
Toffee, Christmas cake. We're still got a bit of citrus in the background there as well.
I was going to say Christmas cake. Maybe that's where, by osmosis, the Christmas element, the wintry feels coming in. That kind of that vibe of like after dinner. And yeah, I think you're on the money. You have to spend time alone with this. This is an intimate affair rather than having a party with it, I would say.
Yeah.
I think this deserves a bit more exclusivity. I really like this. I think this is probably my favorite so far, but I'm very sold on the idea of just having some time alone with this. I like the idea of not having to entertain, a whole group of people when I have this in my hands. So the 24-year-old so far, the leader in the clubhouse for me. I'm just going to put that aside. There is some still left in the glass, but I don't want to just gobble that up. I want to give that some time alone, but I do desperately want to try the peated whiskey while I have you on the phone. Slight confession, I think peated whiskey is my favorite. How does the peated whiskey come about?
The early part of the malting process, when the green malt goes to the kiln, the maltsters will use peat. They'll burn peat, generate heaps and heaps and heaps of peat smoke. And when the green malt is very wet, it's got the ability to suck in smoke, phenols, so it will absorb, and the phenols can also stick to the husk as well. The important thing with this peat is we use an Aberdeenshire peat. It's a local peat. I know a lot of people do not like peated whiskies because they've had that Isla TCP medicinal iodine experience. Aberdeenshire peat's got a very low level of that compound that gives us that TCP effect. It's more of a barbecue, wood fire, wood ash, peat smoke or smoke. And I think it just balances so well with the freshness, the fruitiness that we've got throughout the anCnoc range.
Do other distilleries buy your peated barley? Your peated grain?
No, we don't make our own malt on site anymore. We buy from commercial sources. I mean, it's a specialist industry.
Right.
So there's a couple of guys up this way that will make peated malt. They'll make it to your specification as well. So this one's quite a clear, quite a pale liquid. It's only been matured in ex-bourbon casks.
Yeah, this is very interesting.
Right. I think this is the one you're going to notice the biggest difference when you put a couple of drops of water into.
Right.
For me, it enhances, releases some of that smoke. That
just
peatiness.
a couple of drops there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also makes it very, very sweet on the tongue.
That softens it up a bit. I don't know if it makes it any more enjoyable. I quite like it without the water.
So that with that and a stinky blue cheese, for me, it's a match made in heaven. You get a Rockford or a Stilton or a Strathdon Blue. What a great combination!
Oh, Gordon, this is fantastic. I've enjoyed this. If I had to pick a winner, it's strange. You can't really pick one because I wouldn't want to drink the 24, every night. I'd want to have to go to that as a special go-to. But I really enjoyed the 12-year-old. I think that's got a great feel to it. The 24, I think, is definitely the high flyer. But the peated whiskey, I'm just all over that. I can just almost see myself in the garden, passing that around a couple of friends in the party with the dogs yapping by my heels. I think that's definitely one that I'm going to be taking some time to get to know better. I think if everybody else wants to get to know the brand better, then they should definitely go to the website. Once again, anCnoc.com. We'll put all the links over on the show notes at Menswear Style, but let me just spell that for you again, anCnoc.com. Gordon, it's been an absolute pleasure. How often do you get to London?
Once in 57 years.
Wow. Okay, so I've got to come to Aberdeen then to buy you a drink and return the favour. But that must happen in the near future. In the meantime, thanks so much for taking time. Thanks so much for walking us through these wonderful whiskies, and all the best for the future.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on tonight, Peter. Slàinte.
You've been listening to the Menswear Style podcast. Be sure to head over to menswearstyle.co.uk for more menswear content, and email info@menswearstyle.co.uk if you would like to be a future guest on the show. Finally, please help support the show by leaving a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Until next time.